lineup. They can play a shooting lineup. Their ability to play zone. So, the things that we've been working on throughout the year about finding different ways to win are important in this series. But I think it comes down to the physicality and the toughness on both ends of the floor.
Talk about the mentality. Obviously, you want to come in with the right mindset, but it's had a long layoff, 164 games, playing teams that maybe have not looked their best in the play-in. How do you combat that initial kind of maybe complacency?
Everything you said is in the past. So right now, everyone's 0-0. So, in my mind, the seeding doesn't matter. The regular season doesn't matter. What matters is just kind of how we approach. And it started the way we practiced this week. So, all we can control is the time that we have. And I think the guys have done a great job just honing in on all the details, the execution, the things on both sides of the ball. And it kind of starts tomorrow. But, both teams are 0-0.
Obviously, much different teams, on both sides. How much do you want, your players to embrace what happened last year and, trying to get revenge for that, for lack of a better term, and, just overcoming what they went through last year?
Yeah, that can be dangerous because then you can look at 2 years ago or you can look at the bubble year. I think what matters is focusing on the present, kind of who we are as a team, what we've worked on, and the things that are every series, every playoff, every team season takes on kind of a life of its own, an identity of its own. And we spent the year establishing that identity, and I think it's important to just continue that through the playoffs, knowing that every kind of series will be a little bit different and be ready to make those adjustments when necessary. But we kind of talked about it all year. There's really no difference between the regular season and the playoffs. It's just simple details under higher duress, and it comes down to the margins, and we got to be ready to win those.
What do you learn from that series, especially the back and forth, the adjustments with Eric Spoelstra, going against a coach like that, and the things he's accomplished, and even just that team, how they're able to show you different defense.
Yes. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is in at starting quarters, ending quarter, the margin. So you have double-digit leads in both first two games, and you don't end quarters well. And, you gave a team a lead, and then the situational basketball and the margins kind of come to that. So the kind of stuff we've been working on over the last year and a half is fighting for those details at the start of quarters, end of quarters, and then winning the margins. It's a physicality and a toughness and a mindset to the series that I think it outweighs anything really tactically. The tactical stuff doesn't matter if you don't play with the level of toughness and physicality that is required to win,
Your defense
last night, or did you review it this morning? Follow-up to that, what are they doing, or how are they different without you?
They obviously play a little bit more shooting, so they have different identities that they can go to. And then anytime someone's out, other guys are going to take on the responsibility of playing. So, their DNA is still the same. The teams might look a little bit different, but their DNA is the same.
Do you take anything from the regular season?
You can, but I think both teams are open-minded to doing whatever it takes to win that game, that particular game. So some patterns will always be different. At the end of the day, I think the biggest thing you can take are the margins. More important than any other adjustment. I know that's a word that's thrown around a lot. I think it's not as important as the physicality and the toughness. So, the margins are the most important thing, and we got to be ready to win those.
Is it a good thing from a mindset perspective?
Everything can be good or bad depending upon how you look at it. So can't control who we play. All we can control is how we prepare and get ready for it.
How much did you enjoy the coaching gamesmanship battle against Bo last year? And you kind of showed some flexibility as that series went on. So what did you learn from that series, and what do you think you're bringing to this?
So I think that idea, right, of the margins are the most important thing, and also, the one thing, the huge strength of this team is the open-mindedness to know that there is a system. You're going into a series or a game with a plan, but you have to be open-minded to go to something different because it makes sense in that particular situation. And so I think those are the two biggest things: is understanding what our identity is over the course of a season, of a series, but at the same time, what calls to win a segment of a game may be different, and we just got to be open-minded and ready to execute that. And I think the guys have done a great job of that this year.
The big strength of your defense is you guys change coverages so frequently. You have different personnel grouping, switching rules, stuff like that. They're also really good with that, and they beat a lot of teams a lot with that. So how hard is that to keep up with and to counter in a playoff setting?
I think it just comes down to, regardless, no matter what each team does, it's going to come down to the turnovers, the rebounding, and the physicality that you play with, right? All the other stuff kind of falls into place, but we're just going to be ready to communicate, depending upon what lineups are, what matchups are, ready to communicate those coverage, throughout the entire game.
Joe, when you speak to them playing different identities, with or without Butler, is that opponent specific, or do they, kind of have depending on how their guys are playing?
I think it's both, but I do think they have an innate strength to be able to to take away or go after what each opponent, so they have that open-mindedness as well of like, this is what this team calls for, this is what this game calls for. So they do have a strength to be able to go to that, so we have to be ready to adjust to that.
Final couple questions, Gary.
Joe, what should be the mentality of your team? Focused, eye the tiger. Like, how should you approach this playoffs? You want to be hungry. You want to be the hungrier team. You're the heavily favored team. But what should be the mentality of your team entering this stretch?
I think balance is the most important thing. I think understanding that we are a really, really good team. But the humility to know if we don't take care of X, Y, and Z or take care of the margins, we can lose at any time. So I think there's a balance. We definitely don't want to go in thinking less of ourselves or thinking too high of ourselves. I think just the perfect balance is important. We're really, really good when we do this, and how long can we do that for? And that's the ultimate test of toughness and discipline.
Just being that mindset, do you have a good sense now of how you feel like your team is locked in, or is that something you can't know until the 30 minutes tomorrow?
I mean, they're ready, but that doesn't mean that things are going to go our way. And so they've been ready all week. They've been ready all year. That doesn't mean that we're going to get off to a good start. It doesn't mean that we're not going to get off to a good start. The idea is just being ready. It takes what it takes, right? And we've talked about that. Series takes on a life of its own, and there's no expectations here of how it's supposed to go, other than just got to be ready to take what it takes.
Great, thank you, Joe.